let's understand it in detail what all goes into an app development. Okay, so we'll understand what all has been done with app development till now and how can we contribute to it. So let's start with the first thing, that is the history, where it all started. So it all started around 1994, where IBM has launched a phone which was Simon, which had 10 inbuilt apps. So initially we all had phones or devices which had inbuilt apps. There were no options to install new apps, to install add-on apps. There were fixed apps which are available. There were the basic apps like address book, alarm clock, calculator, calendar, mail, notepad, and so on and so forth. So these kind of basic functionalities that are required in day-to-day life. You need address book to store addresses of people. You need alarm clock to set your alarms. You need calculators to do some mathematics, some calculations. You need a calendar to schedule meetings, schedule information. But that time the calendar was more for just seeing the date, just looking to the date and adding few events or reminders to that, because there was no kind of these video calls which you can schedule on calendar. Then around 2002, BlackBerry launched its QWERTY keypad phone, which had integrated games into that. Okay, so there were many more apps available in BlackBerry. They sent this phone, which was a smartphone which has a trackball in between, and with that you got a lot more apps available. Then in 2007, Apple launched, and with Apple came many more apps like Maps, Photos, Text. You were able to take pictures. That was already there in BlackBerry also, but it improved with Apple. And then in 2008, Apple launched its Apple Store. So this marketplace you might have heard about, or if you have an Apple device, you might have used that also. So this marketplace had 500 plus apps when it launched. Okay, that was a very big deal. Right now, it's millions and billions of apps available in all these marketplaces. But initially, it was just 500 plus apps, and that gave a different perspective to people. That yes, you can select apps. You can select the apps which are required to you and just install them, instead of having all those inbuilt apps that you might not use. And after that, in 2008 itself, Google launched its Android marketplace. So Android, being open source software, gave the developers an ability to create quick applications, and that is why Android provided a lot more applications in the market. We have applications for Apple, but most of the Apple applications are paid. Whereas Android was open source, the source code was available to developers. So there are some freelancing developers who develop the apps and just put it on the Play Store. Okay, so Google offered that with its Android store. We have to keep this in mind, that these are the two main marketplaces or two main platforms that we have to be good at, that we have to know if we want to become a full stack app developer. If we want to become an app developer that knows about both the marketplaces, then you have to be good at Apple and as well as Android, that is iOS and Android. Okay, and one more important thing, these two platforms, the apps that are developed for these two are not developed on the same software. They are different softwares are used to develop apps for iOS and different for Android. So you have to master them. Then you have to take you have to take time and master yourself in this Android and similarly in Apple also. So let's understand what app development exactly is. So app development is basically the process of creating an app for mobile devices or gadgets. So when we create an app, the steps that goes into it. One will be the front end, the UI, with which the person can interact with the app. For example, if you both see right now, Aryan is on a system. I think he's on a system with Zoom app, and Ahmed is using phone. So that Zoom app has an UI. That app is developed for PC separately and separately for mobile phones. And both the apps has an UI, the user interface, where you have an option to like mute, unmute yourself, where you have a button that shows a video recorder that shows that if you turn it on, that your video will turn on, and if you turn it off, the video will turn off. So this is called a user interface, with which you can easily understand that what are the buttons and what each button does. So that is one part of app development. That is the front end. And second part is the back end. Back end is that part which does all the functionality. For example, if I go to my Zoom app and click on stop video. So when I clicked on the button, for me, I read that it was written stop video. I pressed on that button. And then in backend, the Zoom processed all those functionality required, like to turn off my webcam so that my video capture is stopped and Then to replace that with an image, if I turn it off, it replaces that with a moonshot image. So this complete functionality is done by the backend of the app, the coding part of that. Okay, so there is a front end part and there is a back end part for every app that is out. And if we are creating app, we need to understand both of these parts. We can be good at one, but then we will need in collaboration with the other person. Okay. Other than that, the apps that we have can be pre-installed during the manufacturing process, or they can be available to the people on Android store or Apple store, and they can download it. So we have to remember one more thing, that whenever we talk about app development, it's mostly not a standalone field. Like it's always integrated with something else. For example, if you are having a robot and you want to control it using some mobile application, then you will develop an app. That means you have to learn the app development part to develop the app for robot, and you have to learn the robotics part to create that robotic car maybe. Similarly, if you are creating a game and you want that game to be on mobile app, then the development of that game is separate thing, and then integrating that game into an app that can be installed into mobile phones and used, that is different. So you have to learn both the skill set. So whenever we talk about app development, we first need to understand our goal with that app, what we want to create. And according to that, we decide that whether it will be pure app development or whether it will be an app integrated with something else. Next, what you have is the types of apps. So what are the types of apps that are available? First is native app, second is web app, and the last one is a hybrid or cross-platform. So this is the division of apps based on platform. And by platform, we don't mean iOS and Android. We mean native. Native stands for when the app runs on the system itself. That is, for example, if you have an app for Android, so that Android app will be installed in the system and it is made for that Android system only. You can't use this app on any other platform. For example, you can't use it on BlackBerry OS, you can't use it on Chrome OS, or you can't use it on iOS, because the app was developed for that platform only. So if you have native platform, then it cannot be installed on other platforms. For example, if we take the example of this Angry Birds. So this Angry Bird games was developed for Android separately and then for iOS separately. The logic was same, the mechanics was same, the physics was same, the characters were same. But to make that app compatible with Android or iOS, the development had to be done twice. One was with Android, second was with iOS. And similarly, the maintenance of that also goes along the way. Like the developers have to invest time to maintain it on Android, to update it, fix the bugs, and similarly on the iOS part also. But what if we want to make app only once and we want it to run on any browser, any system easily? Then we have an option to go over web-based applications. What are web-based applications? These applications are not dependent on the system, rather they are dependent on the web browser. But what if we want an app to work on multi-platform? Then we go for hybrid or cross-platform applications. So cross-platform application utilizes multi-stage web advancements. Okay? So we use all these features of web because we need to have some intermediate that interacts with the system, that interacts with the Android or iOS, and makes it easy for us, easy for the development of the game. And then we add the single code, we create a single code. For example, we have one application that is native, that runs on Android or iOS, because we have created it for that platform. Then we have an option to have a web browser, which is a container. In that container, we can run web applications which are running on server, and we are seeing the output. I hope this much is clear. But if we want to create a game which runs on the system only, we don't want to host it on any web application on any server. We want it to be installable. You can take it, install it and use it. We want to create it like that, but we still want to make one code only. We don't want to code it separately for the things. So what we can do is we can create a container just like a Chrome browser. We can make our own container using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Python has Django. So there are multiple things available. With that, you can create a container which is similar to a web browser and run your game on that container. So what will happen is that as Chrome gets installed in your system, that container will be installed in your system. And in that container, the game will be running. So it will look like that the same code is running on both the system, but actually that container is running on both the system, and you are looking the game into that container. So if we see this is our Chrome browser, which is a container basically. Why I'm calling it container? Because it has its own functionalities. It has a little bit of functionalities over here. You have options over here. You have some tabs over here. But if you search for any website, like I search for google.com, so then that gets loaded over. And just let me show you this thing. Just a second. If you can see in this part, this complex code that is written, this is basically the coding of this complete Google website. If I go to some other website, you can again see the coding. Let's go to this. So basically when we call this code, when we call this website, this code gets loaded into our system. And that is running in this web browser, in this container. Okay, so all the styling of this, everything is getting loaded over here and it works over here. Fine. So if we want to create an app which is cross-platform, an app which we can easily install on any system, but we want to code it once. We don't want to separately code it for iOS and then separately code it for Android. We don't want to make our work twice, make it once only. So we can create containers like this. Using HTML, CSS, Java, we can create containers like Chrome browser. And in that container, we can run our game. We can make our game executable. So that will become a package that will be installed into a system just like a normal application, and then the game will be running on our container and not on the actual system. Okay, it will be running into a container like this, but it will look like that the game is being like the same game is being installed on both systems, but actually the container is first installed and then the code or the game is being run inside. Okay, but the game will become native to the system. It won't be on a server. Like in this web base, we have it on a server. But here we will be having it on the system only, on your PC or mobile phone only. So next what we have is types of apps based on functionality. So first we divided the apps based on the platform. It can be native, web or hybrid. Now we are dividing them based on functionality. So I won't give you any example for these because the names are self-explanatory. I want to know from you which kind of apps you use in all these functionality. For example, let's start with the first one. That which kind of what type of utility apps you use in your daily life. Can you name some utility apps? Utility basically means these kind of apps like the calculator. That is having some basic use for addition, subtraction, for making some basic calculation. So similarly, any utility app that you use.
I use the calendar sometimes.
Okay, you use the calendar. Emma, which app do you use?
I use the maps and the notes.
Okay, so use maps and notes. So these are all utility apps. They like maps help us to go from one place to another. Notes, we can take notes. Calendar, we can use to see dates. We can use to schedule work. We can add some reminders to that. Okay, so these are the utility apps. So you understand these are those apps which are giving us basic functionality, basic usage, which are required on day-to-day basis. Okay, so these apps mostly come pre-installed. Whenever you buy a mobile phone or a device, you always have these apps installed. All the calendar, weather, maps, most of them comes inbuilt. Next, let's move to lifestyle apps. So lifestyle means those apps which offer us luxury. For example, you want to listen to music, you have Spotify for that. Similarly, any other app that you might have used or heard about in lifestyle. Yes, any other app that you might have heard or used under lifestyle section.
Delivery.
Okay, food delivery or?
It delivers food.
Absolutely, we have delivery apps for food delivery. Ahmed, any examples that you might have heard or might have used?
I can't think of any.
Okay, so you must have heard about Uber. Uber helps you to order taxis. Okay, then you have TripAdvisor. You can use it to plan your trips, your vacations. So these are the kind of lifestyle apps that are available, which are basically for fitness, dating, food, music and travel, and so on and so forth. Next, we have social media apps. So social media apps are very simple. We already know these examples: Facebook, WhatsApp, Pinterest. Then we have Twitter and many more apps out there. And the last one should be the most interesting one. What are the gaming apps that you use? What kind of games do you play on mobile phones? Can you name some of those apps? Yes,
I'm not allowed to download games on my phone. I can only play on the games on the internet.
Okay, so what kind of games do you play over there?
Like on the internet.
Yeah, on the internet, because those will be the like web applications. So those are also applications. Yes.
Sometimes I play Subway Surfers.
Okay. So you have play service. So that's same. What you get on mobile phone, that you get on web applications.